Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Flight Plan TV, Graduation and Beyond. My name is John Cutler, and I'm a certified Focal Point business coach and franchisee owner of Focal Point Business Coaching Alberta, where our proven curriculum is powered by the excellence of Brian Tracy. I work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives to help them achieve their personal and business goals faster than they ever thought possible. I've created a success program based on my work with my clients, and it's called Flight Plan, Graduation and Beyond. And it's the 4-stage system that high school students and young adults can enroll in to become equipped with the time-tested and proven success strategies that will help them achieve their goals. Every week, I'll provide tips and motivation, plus add a couple of action items for the viewers to work on. I'll also be interviewing relevant guests on topics of interest for both students and their parents. And there will be opportunities for interaction by way of our online chat forum as well. So what we'll do, Evan, I've prepared a little PowerPoint presentation on battling complacency. And so, Evan, if you could open that up, perfect, thank you. Then we'll get into a great guest. She's an author, Barbara Greenberg PhD. We'll get to Barbara shortly. We're Skyping her in from Connecticut. Okay, so the definition of complacency: a feeling of contentment or self-satisfaction, especially when coupled with an unawareness of danger, trouble, or controversy. And I know there's probably some frustrated parents watching this. They've probably seen a lot of complacency. So here's how to battle that, not only for your children, but for yourself as well. A major cause of complacency: if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. That's a quote from Brian Tracy. Most people don't really know which road to take because they don't have a clear picture of their destination. And without a destination, you can fall into the trap of complacency. And I don't mean to scare you, but complacency can lead to arrogance. And arrogance, of course, never goes unpunished. So we have to get rid of complacency. Here's my tips for taking action against complacency. You have to determine your destination, and that is something that you have to be passionate about. You have to create your flight plan, and flight plan is, of course, the 4-step program that I got into a little bit earlier. I'll go into further description of flight plan a little bit later on in the show. You have to write your goals daily. This gets rid of complacency because you've got a target, whether it's your major definite purpose in life or whether it's making sure that you wash your car. That's a goal. Make sure you write it down so you're working towards achieving those goals. You develop the plans to achieve your goals, and then you have to take action. So you get busy. That's how you get rid of complacency. But the number one has to be something you're passionate about. Okay, so we'll move on to our guest, and I'll put in my earbud so I can hear Barbara. And Barbara, I'm just going to read out your bio here. Barbara,
Thank you.
Okay, Barbara Greenberg PhD is a clinical psychologist in private practice in Fairfield County, Connecticut. She's the adolescent consultant at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Is that how you pronounce that?
Absolutely.
Perfect. She co-authored the best-selling book, Teenage as a Second Language, A Parent's Guide to Becoming Bilingual, with Jennifer Powell-Lunder. And together they've created an interactional website as well called talkingteenage.com. So Barbara, I sure appreciate you being here today, and congratulations on the huge success of your book. I was trying to track it down in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and everybody was sold out.
Yes, the best place to get it at this point is Amazon.
Oh, perfect. And my order is in, and so viewers out there, if you don't have it already, go get the book because it's got phenomenal information in it. So tell me, Barbara, what was your inspiration for Teenage as a Second Language?
Well, the inspiration came from 2 different sources. First, I raised teenagers, and I'm alive and well and here to tell the story. Also, I've worked with adolescents for over 23 years and have dealt with both the adolescents and their well-intentioned but fatigued parents.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I thought that since I've had so much experience working with them, I became aware of a lot of what the problems were and what could easily make things go much more smoothly in the dialogue between teens and their parents. So my co-author and I decided that we should put this into a book format and share it with the thousands and millions of other parents struggling out there.
Wow. And how has the feedback been?
The feedback has been excellent. And I have to tell you that the book became a bestseller in Canada before the United States.
Well, so we have that going for us here in Canada. That's wonderful. Yes. Now, of course, communication is the overarching theme of the book, rightfully so. Last night, I delivered a live flight plan presentation, and that's basically stage 3 of my 4-step program, to a room full of students and young adults and their parents. And as I was saying to them, 85% of a person's success in life is going to be determined by how well they communicate with other people. And certainly that parent-adolescent relationship is a key one. What are the best ways for parents to get their teens to communicate with them?
That's the question that everybody loves.
Yeah.
The first thing is that teenagers don't like direct requests for information. They prefer indirect requests for information. So let me give you an example of that. When my teenager would come home from a party, rather than saying, "How was the party?" the better question is, "Was that the right outfit for the party? Were you dressed properly?" Really, what you want to ask is, were there drugs at the party? Right?
Yes.
That's the real question. So number 1 is to ask indirect questions.
Okay.
So,
go ahead, continue.
The second thing is that no matter what you're feeling internally, you always want to the best of your ability, respond to what your teenager is telling you in a calm, non-emotional manner, because your goal is to get the information from your teen. And if you start to panic and freak out and lose control, they'll stop talking because they'll feel like you're unable to tolerate what they're telling you. So I tell all the parents, if you can't really do it, then fake it, practice. Because teenagers are much more likely to open up to a parent that they perceive as calm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the third thing also is to try very hard not to be judgmental in terms of what they're telling you. This doesn't mean that you don't give consequences for behavior that's problematic, but in interacting, if you start becoming critical or judgmental, the teens will tune out.
That's wonderful advice. As I was talking to the parents and their kids yesterday, one of the messages that I gave to them in relaying these success principles is basically taking the pressure off a little bit of making mistakes, because I find if you haven't failed at something, then you haven't learned the lessons that you need to become the person that you should become in order to achieve the success that you need to achieve.
I agree with you completely. And we talk about that in terms of developing grit or developing resiliency skills. If teens don't have the opportunity to make mistakes and to recover from failure, then they're really missing out on an important life skill. So mistakes are really an opportunity to learn that you can pick yourself back up and get through the day happily. I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that.
Awesome. Okay, here, picture this. I was walking down the street yesterday, and I see what I think is a mom and her daughter, but they were dressed almost the same, and something was a little bit out of whack. Should parents be the friends of their kids?
The answer to that is an unequivocal no. Kids want you to be parents. They don't want you to be friends. Hopefully they have same-age friends. Also, you lose your authority as a parent if you become their friends. think about it this way as well. How often do you, as a parent, tell your friends to do their laundry, do their homework? It's totally different role. And a goal of friendship is to keep things harmonious almost all the time. In a parent-teen relationship, you have to be willing to absorb your kid's anger at times. Mm-hmm. So the answer is no. And they don't. And another well-kept secret is that the teens don't want you to be their friends. They want you to be there as parents to provide structure. They won't tell you this because it's not cool for a teenager to say that, but it's what kids in their 20s have told me when they're looking back at their teen years.
Right. So there is almost an element of embarrassment.
Correct.
Okay. I have a story to share. Like, I don't have teenagers yet. I have a daughter who's 7.5. My son is almost 5. And lately I've noticed he's been calling me buddy. And that hasn't quite sat well with me, only because I'm your dad. I'm like, sure we get along. So am I going to have to start monitoring that now and making those changes?
I think so. I think you can't just start the dialogue when your kids are teenagers. I think you start the quality of the dialogue when they're much younger. Yeah. So, yeah, I think now is the time to do a little bit of gentle redirecting.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Now, in terms of technology, I think there's certainly a fear of parents as to what their kids are, the information they're capable of seeing, like on the internet or through their smartphones. It's certainly a real concern. What types of parameters should we be setting for our kids? Is it possible to set too much or too little? And what are the pros and cons of those safety settings?
Yes. I think that before you give your child the gift of any sort of technology, a parent should familiarize themselves with it. I mean, think about it this way. You wouldn't give your child something to eat that you didn't know about, that you didn't know the contents of. I think parents really need to familiarize themselves with technology, the far-reaching effects of it. I think that I'm always surprised when parents ask if they can set parameters around how much their kids use social media. Parents not only can set parameters, but they should set parameters. There should be a limit to how much time they could spend on social media. There's got to be some face-to-face time, and kids really do get addicted. It really does take over their lives. And you know your kids are overdoing it when their computer time and their Facebook time and their texting time interferes with all other activities. Right. You really have to look for balance.
Yeah. My program, a lot of the interaction that I have with the kids is through social media because that's the main way that I'm going to be able to reach them. But in the first stage of the program, I provide a career planning assessment. And part of that assessment and the subsequent training on that assessment is how to effectively communicate with the other behavioral styles that other people have. And I think providing the students and the young adults with this information now, which they've probably never heard of, can only help them in their future relationships and actually talking to people, because talking seems to be going away, and I don't want that to happen.
Right. I remember when we had rotary telephones, and we used to call people that way.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, just a couple of the chapter titles that I'm hoping you can just elaborate on just a little bit, because and I think it's going to help, just provide people with more information as to what they can expect when they buy your book. One is when to back me up, when to back off.
Right. What we're trying to say there is that teens want your support and they want independence at the same time. So what they're saying is, Mom, Dad, give me a little room to make mistakes, but keep your eye on me. Don't let me get into too much trouble.
Okay, Perfect. And how you see it versus how they see it. Are there a couple of examples that you could provide us with?
Yes. A typical example would be if you ask your child, how was their day? And they say, fine. We all know that that's the most frustrating thing parents can hear. So parents then will say, well, what's bothering you? What's upsetting you? And what the kids are really thinking is, things are fine. I just need a little decompression time. I just need a little winding down time. So that's something that gets misinterpreted. Another thing that happens is kids get very quiet. And parents also assume that this means that their child is socially withdrawing, that they're angry. Again, parents risk overinterpreting. The child might be quiet because they're rethinking things, and that their day, right? And
Yes.
their day, they're still thinking things over, and they're not sure how they feel.
Okay, very, very interesting. So that silence is a form of communication in itself.
Correct, yeah.
But why do parents feel that something is wrong automatically? Is that just the way that we've been brought up as well?
I think that's how we're wired. We're wired to worry about our children. Things are never really the same once you have children. I think we're wired to think that to be protective and to find out if there's something wrong so that we can intervene and help. And we see a lack of discussion as representing a problem, but that's not the case with teens. By nature, they tend to back off and be less talkative.
Great. Well, Barbara, that wraps up our interview portion of the show, but your passion really does shine through on what you're talking about, and I know for me personally, I've gained a lot of value just from talking to you. When I get my book in apparently 6 days from now, I'll be able to dig into that even more and really use that information as well to help communicate with the teenagers that I'm dealing with as well in terms of flight plan.
Wonderful.
So parents, buy the book, Teenage as a Second Language. If your local bookstores are sold out, ask them to get it in or order it through Amazon. And Barbara, thank you so much again. I'll be in touch after the show and we'll talk again, okay?
Pleasure. I just wanted to mention one other thing.
Oh, absolutely.
For parents to take a look at our website, which is @talkingteenage.com, and they'll love it. It's very lively.
Okay, so that's @talkingteenage.com. Okay. Wonderful, Barbara. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Okay, so that was awesome, and I certainly appreciate her time. If you could, Evan, queue up. Now boarding, flight plan. I'm glad you're on top of things. Gee whiz. Now I'm just going to queue that up for myself because I'm not on top of things. But I really enjoyed the interview. Sounded all right. Nice lady. Okay, so I mentioned earlier the 4 stages of flight plan. Let us leave no student on the runway. Yes, I said that. By enrolling in flight plan, graduation and beyond, you will receive, and now I'm talking about students, young adults, it's an online career planning insights assessment, which is an incredibly valuable tool that provides potential career paths you should consider based on your behavioral style and education level. So really, what we're talking about here, 3 different lists of potential career paths. One list based on high school education, one based on post-secondary, one based on post-university. My intention and my expectation is that you as a student, or if a parent is watching, your child will identify something that they never thought about doing, and it could be their passion. Remember combating complacency, what I talked about earlier? This is how we do it. We identify what that passion is. Second stage is an educational recorded webinar. It explains the assessment and how to apply the reported results in your life. And I also include some additional information in the form of communication tips. And I spoke a little bit to Barbara about, or I explained it a little bit, in terms of the other behavioral styles that are out there, how to effectively communicate with them. Stage 3, access to the flight plan, graduation and beyond. It's a 90-minute life-changing presentation and workshop. So yes, this is where I actually put you to work a little bit and we start to formulate that flight plan. So we start to write down your goals over the next year, 5 years, 10 years. We start to write them down. Also in that presentation, I talk about how thinking can change your life, changing your thinking can change your life, also the power of choice, and how to effectively and consistently construct written goals. And of course, and I'm going to get to this in a second, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but here's what I'm looking at doing for the end of June, is instead of doing a live workshop, in conjunction with a live workshop here in my market, we're going to simulcast. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. We're going to try to simulcast the presentation around the planet. So now location does not matter, and you'll be invited to attend that as well. You'll receive a flight plan workbook prior to the workshop where you'll be able to physically write down everything that you need to write down to get you on that path to success. The last component, and this is very unique, it's weekly ongoing educational motivational follow-up support through social media, through this program from me. And the reason I've included that is because it's going to create consistent awareness and accountability on your path to success. And that's what coaching is all about. It's providing accountability and awareness. And the weekly follow-up is so key because it's going to keep you, if you're enrolled in the program, on the right path. Bonuses. When you enroll in the flight plan program, you'll also receive my monthly newsletter. It's a monthly e-newsletter. It's the Business Coach. A lot of great information. Again, you're adding to your skill level, you're adding to your knowledge level. You might not use it right now, but I'll assure you in the years to come you will. And to be aware of it and to learn it now is going to propel you beyond belief. Also, you'll get a free ebook every month for the first year, courtesy of Brian Tracy. He, of course, is a mentor of mine. So here's the action item. Register for flight plan. So very simply, you go to johncutlercoaching.com. You scroll down to the airplane icon and click here to sign up for flight plan. Very simple. And then it's a very easy, secure credit card payment through PayPal, and it's a one-time payment of only $97.95 for the rest of your life. That's it. One payment, $97.95. You get everything that I just explained. There's huge upfront value in terms of that career assessment. Now it's just a matter of going ahead and acting on it. Get rid of the complacency. Perfect. So that's the pitch on flight plan. Okay, so next week, in terms of the motivation and educational tips, I'm going to be talking about the 8 keys to persistence. Without persistence, you cannot achieve success. So I'm going to inform you about what those eight key principles are to persistence. There's no better time than right now to enroll in the program. I'll say again, we've got a live presentation coming up at the end of June, which you'll be invited to once you enroll in the program. And next week, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, right here on fuselogic.tv. I'll be with you again, and we'll have another great guest. And so I'd like to thank students, parents for being here. We'll see you again next week.